Good morning, guys. Welcome home with the parents. I'm Keisha and you are in my kitchen with me today. Today we are going to make homemade biscuits. I have been married for 25 years and for 24 of those years I had no idea how to make biscuits. Well, I had somewhat of an idea, but I was very unsuccessful. I knew the ingredients, I had watched my mom, my stepmom, grandmothers, but just could not accomplish this task. So I have finally learned how to make homemade biscuits and they are so good. So come along with me today and find out how. So I've got my bowl here. I use a pretty big bowl because I'm going to put the 2 cups of sifted flour in it, then the butter Crisco and the buttermilk, and so I just like having a large area to work in. So we've got our bowl. I've got my 2 cups of flour and I'm going to pour it in my sifter here. Doesn't have to be perfect, you don't have to catch it all. And I'm just going to sift my flour. I do this because I want the flour to be finer for me to work with and not lumpy, and I want it to mix in well to make a good dough so that it's not clumps of flour when we eat our biscuits. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to set that to the side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Crisco. This is butter flavored, which you don't have to use the butter flavored Crisco. You can use the regular, but to me it just made better sense and was more appealing to use a buttered flavored Crisco, hence the keyword butter with biscuits. So that's all I use. So I'm going to take a clump about this big right here and just drop it into my flour. I'm also going to take, before my hands are too dirty with the dough of the biscuits, I'm going to take some of the butter flavored Crisco and I'm going to grease my pan. Okay, set that to the side. Now that I've got my Crisco and my flour together, I'm going to take this tool. This is a pastry cutter. You don't have to use this tool, but I do like it because I like how it breaks it up real good, and I like to keep my hands as clean as possible until the end so that I can still continue to work with my hands. So I'm going to just break that up. I stir it around some. I stir it around and I break it up by going up and down with it. You want to get that Crisco broken up and mixed throughout your flour really well. If it gets stuck on top inside there, then I just knock it off and keep breaking it up. Okay, so that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my buttermilk. I'm going to add my buttermilk. I do eyeball this because it depends on how the dough is doing when I'm working with it as to how much buttermilk I'm going to add. So I start with a small amount just to start getting the dough worked together. And I'm just going to start right here in the middle, stirring it around lightly, not real rough and getting all into the flour, because I want to start small and start getting this worked into a dough. So as I turn this around, you can see that it's picking up flour from the edges and it's incorporating that in. And as I get more of it mixed together, then I can start taking bigger swoops around and picking in more flour. And see, we're starting to get a dough consistency. So, since I have a small amount worked here, I'm gonna go on ahead and I'm gonna add some more buttermilk to start incorporating more of the flour to make more dough. You can see I'm taking bigger swoops around here to start bringing in more of the flour. So each time I start getting bigger and adding more flour, I add a little bit more of the buttermilk. And you want to be somewhat gentle with the dough because you really don't want to work the dough too much or it will be tough. So I've got some more flour right over here, so I'm going to add some buttermilk to it. Okay, so we've got that incorporated very well. So we're finished with the buttermilk. And what we're gonna do now is I have this extra cup of flour over to the side for me. And what I wanna do now is I wanna start getting flour on my hands to work with the dough. So now's when I'm going to dust my hands and I want to cover the outside of my dough as well with the flour so that I can start working with it. So now my hands are going to start getting dirty. If I had started working this dough with my hands and instead of this red spoon or something like this red spoon, then I would have so much dough stuck all over my hands and in between my fingers that I tend to feel like I have more dough on my hands than I'm going to end up with biscuits in the end. So that's why I've started using the spoon. I can clean that off. So I'm going to start working. I'm going to go underneath and turn over the dough. I'm incorporating more of that flour on this outside part to take away some of that stickiness so that I'm able to work with it. And to start making biscuits. So there's my dough. I've got my pan greased. So I'm just going to take small sections like this, and I'm not going to play with them a lot because you do not want a tough biscuit. Now my guys don't like really a whole lot of bread, and I've got to where over the years I don't really want a whole lot of bread either at one time. So I make my biscuits somewhat thin. Some people like big fluffy biscuits and some don't. I don't make mine perfect. I don't make them perfectly shaped. It just doesn't matter to us how they look, just as long as they taste good. I make sausage biscuits with these. I make bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits with these. I use them for sausage gravy plates that I make. 2 more to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna clean off my hands so that I can handle the pan of biscuits and put them in the oven. So there they go into the oven until they have baked and they are a nice golden brown color.